Are discussing is the marches in London yesterday, the Unite the Nation march, and some issues over how it was policed. We had Doogie Beattie, who was on the march yesterday and reporting on it for Today Live. I think giving more accurate than some of your newspapers today, by the way. Joining me now to discuss the story further is former Police Officer Norman Brennan. Norman, always good to see you. Norman, the march yesterday, lots of people are concerned about the policing and the numbers. What do you make of what you've heard?
Well, I'm quite alarmed, to be quite honest with you, Dawn, because I actually attended myself. Doogie gives a very good overview. And the reason why I attended, because I normally sit down and do interviews with people like you on radio stations, having not been there. So I actually went along. I met an ex-armed response sergeant from Devon and Cornwall that came down. And the very first people we met were police officers, public order officers. Both of the officers there that knew Harry and me and thanked us for helping support them. We shook hands and we wished each other a good day. And that's exactly what we had. Harry and I then joined the queue in Stamford Street. We stood for 2.5 hours waiting for the march to start. And we met the most loveliest of people from north, east, south and west. They were friendly, convivial. We spoke to many. And Harry and I then joined the march and walked to Downing Street. There was no incident whatsoever, and it was something to adorn. Thousands of UK flags flying in the wind as we walked over Westminster Bridge towards Downing Street. There was no trouble whatsoever.
So what do you make of the Metropolitan Police have put out an estimate of, well, anywhere between 115 and 150,000 people there. Our very own Doogie Beattie reckons it was at least 3 times that. I know, Norman, you weren't counting everybody, but what's your feel, as a former copper, about the numbers of people on this march?
Well, I normally, when I was in the police in uniform, I policed some demonstrations. We never knew numbers, but what I would say yesterday, and I didn't count them all, was there were hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands. We were foot to toe, hand to head, and people were just so polite. And this is why I'm so surprised. And I was there. I'm an independent spokesman. I'm not a great fan of Tommy Robinson. However, he's done some great things and he's highlighted many issues that concern us all. And what I heard yesterday and what I saw was people that were sick and tired with what's happened to Britain. They've lost their identity. They believe that what they say, what they do, what they feel is being forced upon them against their wishes. And I would suggest the numbers were in the region of 300,000 or 400,000. I believe the Met have got it wrong. I'm happy to be corrected. But I also believe, Dawn, that ACC, Matt Twist, was pretty unfair when he said that many turned up for the Tommy Robertson march or demonstration were intent on trouble. I was there. I didn't see anybody that was intent on trouble. And apparently there were 1 or 2 flashpoints when the numbers were so vast that the Met, I don't think, could cope. So what they do is they directed them down some streets they hadn't intended to. And hey-ho, they came face to face with the counter demonstration. And I believe, and I wasn't there, Doogie was, that a bottle may have been thrown that incited or ignited some public disorder. 26 police officers were assaulted. Absolutely unacceptable. However, I believe the Met should be more fair and give more reason to the people that turned up, that they were there majority for the good reasons and the good purposes and to behave themselves. And as an expert witness myself, that's exactly what I saw.
Seen and the number of arrests. I mean, the Black Lives Matter back in 2020, 281 arrests. Extinction Rebellion in 2020, again, 681. The anti-vax lockdown protest, 374. So for the amount of people that were there, it's appalling. Police officers doing a hard enough job. They should not be attacked. But 25 arrests for the number of people there. I've had more people being arrested coming out of a West Ham football game.
I totally agree. I mean, in relation to the Notting Hill Carnival, for example, it was in excess of 600 because the Met had preempted certain arrests, seized 40 firearms and 60 weapons. So they prevented even further arrests from taking place. But I will say, as an independent person, Dawn, that yesterday was a great day. I was proud to be British. I was proud to stand with people north, east, west and south. And there were many retired police officers there. We went there for the right reasons. I saw no trouble, and the little flashpoints that did happen, unfortunately, may have been avoided if in future the Met can divert officer or demonstrators away from potential flashpoints. 25 arrests, it's not acceptable. But when you actually put it into comparison for who was there, I saw people enjoying the day. And I'm telling you now, if there's another demonstration, I'll attend that. I'm happy to do it. I saw no trouble. There was no trouble that I actually witnessed. And I think the Met really need to put out a more balanced press release rather than many were intent to cause disorder. I saw nothing of the sort.
And just very finally and very quickly, Norman, what would you say to the counter-protesters who are implying that everybody on that march was a fascist and a racist? Are you a fascist or a racist?
Absolutely not. I'm a leading law and order campaigner and retired police officer. And Doogie highlighted that apparently there were some in the counter-demonstration that were wearing masks. I never saw one mask being worn by any of the demonstrators yesterday. All I saw was smiles and people enjoying themselves.
London yesterday. Disorder broke out on the streets of London yesterday as 150,000 people, according to the Metropolitan Police, that is, attended a free speech rally. At least 25 protesters were arrested and 26 police officers injured during the Unite the Kingdom protest, organised by Tommy Robinson. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood condemned the attacks, warning that those responsible will face the full force of the law. GB News reporter Doogie Beattie was actually at the rally. So unlike many of the reporters in your newspapers today who are writing all sorts, I'm a newspaper reporter. That's what I did, right? That's what I did for 40 years. And I'm as annoyed as you at some of the descriptions in there. Right-wing thugs, fascists, tattooed thugs, drinking tins of beer. Some of them may be. But the way they're written in some of your newspapers, it makes it sound like everybody there, and I believe, like you, many of you do, that was a lot more than 120,000, were just ordinary families concerned. Doogie Beattie, you were there. What was it like?
It was a spectacle. It had the nerves in the back, or the hairs in the back of your neck standing. Waterloo, you know, over 100,000 people just there. Just
at Waterloo?
Just at one
If you don't know
point.
London, that's just one station in, where the march started.
Where the march started, and there were various pickup points along the route where others from right across the UK joined. The vast majority of them were families, were elderly people, right through to youngsters that were taking part in this. And that's why I went there. That's why I didn't go to the stage. That's why I didn't look for the big interviews that were there. I wanted to know what was happening on the ground. Because those people that were there will shape the next elections in Britain. And it's a good, it's so much better than looking at statistics that's coming out from YouGov or whatever. Let's go and have a look. Let's talk to them. Let's get in amongst them. Yeah, see what they're thinking.
Do you want to be Prime Minister?
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be doing that.
But so, get in amongst them, talk to them, see what's happening on the ground. And I did that all day yesterday. And 99.9%. In fact, I don't think I actually spoke to one person that was a thug, as is being described. Most of them, they weren't all Tommy Robinson supporters. That too is nonsense. In fact, I'd have said the vast majority of them were just middle-class people who have had enough. Epping Hotels came up about planning, the banning of flags, the migrant crisis, so much more. Even people talking about how their children were being taught in schools. All this seems to have boiled up into one big frustrated bunch who have went into London, flew from all over Britain, many of them travelling a couple of days to get there. They showed their flags and they walked through and basically said to government, enough. Listen to us. See how many of us...
Did you see any violence at all, Doogie?
I did.
A lot has been made of the 25 people being arrested, but if you look back at all the big marches in London recently, Black Lives Matter, Extinction Rebellion, Palestine Action, the anti-vax one going back that time, and even the Notting Hill Carnival, there's always more than 25 people arrested.
Absolutely. And when you look at the numbers in London yesterday, they say there was 25 arrests. Well, there's more than that sometimes coming out of football matches. And don't forget, there was two football matches on in London yesterday, so the Metropolitan Police had to go to outside police services to bring them in from around the country. It was the logical thing to do, and unfortunately what we witnessed was some of those forces not knowing the geography of London and I do believe, seriously, I believe, coming from Northern Ireland, I have watched police operating in those situations, and they never want two people to clash. I mean, they obviously keep them apart because the sheer size of the crowd there, something really bad could have happened very quickly. And you know what? They just directed them into the wrong place, and that's where there was minor scuffles. But the whole day was really family oriented, and people really wanting to go down this route of frustration and be heard.
Doogie Beattie, thank you very much. Sterling job yesterday, and sterling reporting today. Proper reporting from someone that was there. Okay.